Hello. Uh, I wanted to come on and share a little bit more about my journey and sort of how experience really is what teaches us. And maybe you already know this, but I can't stress that enough because the journey that I've been going through, really, that I chose, that I elected, which is all about surrendering and really living in trust that everything is here for me. The reason I said yes to this journey is because I recognized there were so many patterns that I kept reliving in my life, one in particular around money. It never felt like I was able to be as successful as I always dreamed. So, because of this, and after moving here, I felt like, okay, now it's time. Now it's really time to work through and break this pattern for good. And by saying yes to that journey, I thought, you have to look at it like this. I'm going to take a moment to find the words a little bit, which is that it's not like I was at a rock bottom. It's not like I was broke and I had no place to live. And so that made me decide to take this journey. I had money. My business was doing okay. I was able to pay my bills and I had a beautiful apartment here in Paris. So it wasn't, the circumstances alone were not what made me decide to go on this journey. It was an internal feeling of, I know that I'm meant to live an extraordinary life, which includes the freedom to create wealth, in all the ways that I imagine, the freedom to be able to live wherever I want. Like, I just knew that I wasn't living the way that I felt I could. There was still some sort of stuckness, some sort of limitation, and I wanted to break free of that. So it's important because most of us need a wake-up call in order to change, like some sort of, disease, or somebody dies, or bankruptcy. Something has to shake us up in order for us to go, okay, I'm willing to do something different. But for me, I don't need that. I follow my curiosity, And so when I decided to go on this journey, it started around money, but it's never about the thing. It's never about the person or the circumstance. It's always the pattern. So where I was showing up with money, I was showing up that way in all areas of my life. So every single area of my life had to kind of crumble so that I can start to create from this new internal set of beliefs that I've been instilling. So the reason I was talking about how experience really does teach us is because what started to happen is, in the very beginning of the journey, I was able to sort of, manifest a couple of new clients because I was doing things differently. I was talking from the end state. I was looking at myself in the mirror every day, and I was basically kind of pumping myself up, like, acting as if, so to speak. And that really did change my internal state. Like, I was starting to feel really good. I was like, it's already done, living from the end. And I just saw every single thing that showed up in my reality as evidence that it's working. And it started to work. I got a couple new clients. I got, things just started to kind of flow pretty easily. And then they didn't. And what's interesting is the reason things don't work, or we perceive they don't work, is to show us that there's something within us that is reacting to this circumstance that is stopping us from actually receiving the thing that we really do want. So in this case, it was abundance, right? So when things started to go awry, when, the money was drying up, and what I was stuck with was all of that internal programming that was basically beating myself up, telling me this always happens. See, it works for everyone else, doesn't work for you. This is your lot in life. Forget about it. You're never going to be successful. Look at the way it was and with your music. Look at the way this is just the way it is for you. All of that programming. And in the past, that would have stopped me from continuing. But I know more now. I just know more now. And I knew that was what was in the way of my greatest success. So here I was faced with this new reality that I did not want. It was the opposite of what I wanted. I was experiencing things that I never experienced before. Like, I never in my life had a negative bank balance, ever. I was always the good girl. I always paid my bills on time, always had excellent credit scores. Even though I had debt, I still was making those payments. I've never been fired. I've never been evicted. None of that stuff happened because I was a good girl, right? I learned how to be good, and we are taught, that as long as you're good, you will be rewarded. And I was starting to really see how, this is just a program. I just fell into this way of being. I really assigned this identity to myself that I'm the good girl. And so when I was faced with this new reality of like, oh my God, negative balances, like what? I just couldn't, it was so hard for me to see that reality because that's so not who I am. Do you see? And so, but because I had this higher awareness and this deeper understanding that this was here for me, I had to move through all of that contrast. So all of the emotions, all of that negative programming that kept me up at night. And I had to go, this is here for me to overcome. And I'm going to keep moving through it however many times until I overcome it. Because the only way, you can't just read something. You can't just read something once, twice. You have to actually apply it to your life in order for that to be a new belief system. And that's what I am creating, a whole new state of being, a whole new belief system. So everything that was within me that was counter to what I wanted, which was abundance and the freedom to basically live and be in the world and co-create in a way that was fun and magical and exciting, everything that was against that was the opposite of that, had to bubble up and show itself in the 3D reality in order for me to witness it and the reaction, because it's in our body. It is in our body and our mind, it's all one, to feel that reaction and to move through it till you get to the edge and you break through. And sometimes it can take repetition, meaning seeing the same negative bank balance, like I'll get some more money and then there it is again, until it just doesn't, I don't react the same way. I become indifferent, because indifference really is how creation occurs. So we want to be indifferent to whatever is happening that we don't want. We don't want to give it attention, because what we give our attention to will grow. So if I'm going to react in the same way over and over and over and over again, I will keep getting the same reality because I'm giving it attention. So what will actually let it go? Indifference. How do you learn to be indifferent to something? You keep getting exposed to it over and over and over and over again. So I had to work through and still work through the program of being a good girl. What does it mean if I'm not a good girl? What does it mean if I'm late with this payment? All of that I was experimenting. I mean, that's what it is. It's like we have to give ourselves permission to experiment, to try different ways. And so this whole idea around, I just have to work hard and all my dreams will come true. We have to reframe what working hard actually means, because most people will say working hard is a doing. You have to do something. You just have to put your 10,000 hours in. What I'm doing is shifting my whole internal belief system to a whole new state of being. A whole new state of being. That is a way harder assignment than just going out in the world and just getting another job or trying to hustle, right? The old me, very much when I would feel like, oh my gosh, I have this payment, I would try to create some sort of workshop or something to get money to pay the bill. But that wasn't teaching me that really the thing that I wanted to change was the belief system, not out there. The answer really isn't money either. It's about shifting your belief system into a whole new state of belief system where you're coming from abundance. And my coming from abundance, coming from security, means I don't have to change anything out there. I attract to me the very thing that is right for me. These opportunities come to me. I don't have to chase. Chase is coming from lack. I don't have to hurry. Hurriness or panic is all coming from lack. I don't have to try to control, right? Control is coming from lack. You're saying, I don't trust. I don't trust that this is who I am, and so therefore I attract to me who I am, which is abundant, free, secure, all of these things. So coming back to what I was stating, how experience is the only way that we learn is because we have to actually embody. We have to start to embody whatever it is that we are wanting in our life, because the laws of the universe really does state that when we give our attention to something, when we give our power away to this thing outside of us, that's what will grow. So if we're saying, I want this, the universe will just keep giving us more and more and more of the feeling of want. Not the thing we want, but the feeling of want. So you will feel more and more and more separate from this thing that you want, because you're saying, I want this. I want this, right? Now, you can argue that, yeah, there are people that hustle and they go around and they do all the things. They do until they receive whatever it is that they originally wanted. But guess what happens? 9 times out of 10, they're on to the next thing. It's never enough. And I witnessed this in my life. I witnessed a parent, my father, who it was never enough. And I said, how much more money do you need to make? How many more things do you need to buy? Like, when is it going to be enough? And so I saw that and I recognized there's some distortion there. I don't want to live that way. I know that the magic and the miracles and the fun and the spontaneity, all of that exists in the now if we're just open to it. I don't want to feel like it's never enough. Do you know? So experience is what teaches us. We need to embody these new belief systems before we see any sort of change in our reality. Or you don't do what I do, meaning you don't just like give up your whole old life all at once, because it's a lot. And you do it one step at a time, to the degree that you're open enough, right? So you do start to see some changes. There's still stuff you're working through, but that's okay. It's not like you've completely changed your whole life like I did, which was a big experiment, I know. But I came equipped for this. Like, I know this is what my soul came to do, was to do it this way, like this extreme, where I got to a place where I made a choice, which was, I guess my fear was always like, what if I run out of money and I can't afford my home anymore? But because I spent a year instilling this new belief system, when I recognized this was going to be a reality, a potential, I empowered myself and said, this is good. This is a good thing, because now I can let go of the very thing that was tying me to the past, which was this apartment, this home is the only way I'm going to be safe. that's relying on the external to give me that feeling of safety. And I know what I'm doing is instilling it within myself, regardless of what the 3D reality is showing me. That's way more empowering. So when I made that decision, I'll never forget it. I was in the library. I was journaling. I journal every single day. I'm always looking back on my journals because this is how I can see the gold. This is how I can see the wealth. The wealth is in the wisdom that I've gained, right? It's not about judging it from anything outside of me. It's really seeing how much I've grown and embodied and experimented and then, instilled new beliefs and have these higher understandings. Everything is about, there's so many layers to this. It's so rich. It's so rich. So I felt so rich because I had all these experiences and I'm documenting it all. And I'm reading back and I'm getting new epiphanies on top of it, so I felt so rich. So when the decision came to me, it was just like this, I said, oh, let go of the apartment. You're going to be okay. It's time now to really experience what it's like to fully trust, to fully give over. Like, universe, God, I have tried so many different ways in my life. I am letting go. There is something even greater that I cannot see, and I surrender. I bow down. I am humbled, and I am empowered by this choice. Came home. Do you know that I got a text from my dad saying, you just got a check in the mail? Now, I have heard this kind of stuff, like, when you watch a lot of YouTube videos about manifestations, people talk about getting random checks in the mail, but I've never experienced that. My dad said, you just got a check in the mail for $567.80, 5, 6, 7, 8. I thought, this is so incredible. It was the first time that happened, but it was it felt so validating because I didn't need it. I wasn't looking for it. I had already felt empowered. The decision in that moment and that feeling was enough, but that is what produced this total surprise of money coming to me through my father, which I think is really funny too, because again, he is all about money, 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 money. And it was just evidence that, yes, this is the right decision. So, this is getting long, I know. I guess I'm getting more and more comfortable just sharing all of this, but I wanted to come on and really talk about how experience is what teaches us. So, and just paying attention to how you're reacting to your 3D reality, that is what's keeping whatever it is you want or don't want there. So more on this. Let me know how you feel about this video in the comments. Sending you all so much love. Here's to more checks in the mail.